Hello, good evening to you. Happy Wednesday evening.
That's right. A quick hello and big hello from London. For the ones of you who have been coming to these classes, you know we've been streaming these videos from London. If you are outside London, wherever you are in the world, please let us know where you're watching this video from.
So today we'll have a program around dancing in restricted spaces. So we'll start right now at 7 o'clock with our beginner class. We'll always start with a little bit of technique to understand how to walk and to build a proper posture. And at 8 o'clock is our intermediate and advanced class in about an hour after about 10-15 minutes break. So this is the program. And today we have chosen a topic which works well in tight spaces. This is the Americana. So I'm going to explain to you what's the Americana for the beginners, and then how to play with the Americana for the intermediate lesson. But for now, we're going to start with a quick word on our program.
That's right. We have a very exciting program. We have now 4 classes, actually no 4 classes, 4 days a week we are streaming. So our very next class is coming Friday.
Yep, it is.
With technique and styling, 7 p.m. leaders, 8 p.m. followers. Then we are back on Sunday with our weekly tango class, 2 p.m. beginners, and then intermediates, and up from 3 p.m.
And next week, of course, we have our tango workout on Tuesday, lunchtime, 12:30 UK. And of course, next Wednesday as well. So this is the program that you find all week. If you want more information, you can send us an email. We'll add you to the mailing list where we have the full program for the month. So this is how it's organized.
And also, if you miss any classes, we do provide a library where you can purchase old classes. So we will tell you more at the end.
Okay, so let's start with a little bit of a word on tango posture to start. So welcome to first timers and beginners. If you are not a beginner, it's always good to go back to basics and really kind of feel that you're contracting the right muscles. So I'm going to start with my feet together, and I'm going to have a nice stretch upwards to have a bit of an elongation, if you like, in the spine. And I'm going to make sure that in the process I'm not bringing my shoulders up, shoulders are staying down. Now I make sure that my head is in its natural alignment, and I'm going to show you from the side how it looks. I'm never going to go forward with the hips this way. I'm going to push the hips back so that my hips are above my heels. You know, this is my tango posture, and we review every time that we start the beginner class to make sure that we really have the right posture for dancing tango. So this is how we start, and then I'm going to show you how we start moving in tango for leaders. And of course everything we say is applicable for followers. The followers are going to go backwards, so Paula is going to explain in a short moment. So for leaders, I'm going to start with what we call the projection, which is the leg starting forwards. And then from here, I'm still on my back leg, which in this case is my right. I'm going to start pushing. Now the way to push is to have our hip going a little bit back here, and that makes me want to go further. This is the translation. Now I reach my middle point, I can't go any further. Know that my legs are both straight, so I'm not starting to bend at this stage. And I'm going to start pushing with my back foot and my back leg to make myself go forward this way. Yeah? So basically what's very important to realize here is when I'm in the middle point here, is not to go with the torso, although it's very tempting. I go with the legs, so the torso is quite still, and I'm just pushing myself forwards, and I reach my neutral position. So I'm going to do it one more time with the other leg. I'm going to go and do my projection with the left this time. I'm going to push on the right. I arrive in the center, this is my middle point. And here I use the extension of my foot to bring myself forwards and here. So if you're an improver, if you've done a bit of tango, what I would like you to focus on today when it comes to walking and dancing and moving, and it doesn't matter if you're by yourself or if you're in a couple, basically what's very, very important to realize here is that I'm not going to leave my foot from the floor. So my back foot, even though my weight starts to be mostly on my front foot as I go forward, I'm going to really keep that degree of connection of the foot on the floor. That actually makes me go a little bit slower. So this is how we do. Let's do a few walks, a few steps around. You don't need a very big space, just like a few steps across. and I'm going to do it with you. So I'm going to come here, and I'm going to do it without stopping, but let me put a bit of music. So today we are going to go back to one of our favorites, which is Orchestra Tipica Victor.
I'm always happy when you choose that one.
It's a very nice one. So let's have a look together. Let's do a few steps of tango, styling, our projection and translation. So nice projection upwards. And I'm going to start pushing with the back leg. And now, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2. Here, really push. And I create sensation of space between my legs. I will use a bit of dissociation if I'm a little bit more advanced in tango. I use the full dissociation of my body here. Alright. And let's now have a look at followers. Here we go.
Alright, okay. So the very first thing that happens is the shift of the weight, as you know. So the leader communicates to the follower the shift of the weight by releasing the weight into the floor of one of the legs and freeing up the other one. Now, with the intention of moving towards the back, so for the forward, for leaders, and for followers going to the back, I'm going to receive the intention of that free leg to project. That is giving me the direction where I'm going to go next, which in this case is the back. Now, I'm going to push from the standing leg, and I'm only going to push as much as my leader pushes, so I will feel the amount of pushing of the standing leg. We're going to explain a little bit more about this later. If my body weight is with my partner, my intention is in the embrace with my partner. Now I'm going to push towards the middle, and the weight is going to arrive first on the toes. So we don't want to arrive too quickly on the heel, but we're going to arrive to the middle. You see my center now is still gathered, it's not collapsed. Now I'm going to continue with shifting the weight towards that standing leg, so my axis is now back to neutral. Okay, I'm going to repeat one more time with the right leg. I receive the intention, the push. Okay, now the transfer of the weight going through the middle and arriving to the center again. Okay, I'm going to do it a few times. Projection, pushing, transferring, and collecting. Project, push, transfer, collect. Project, push, transfer, and collect. So, shall we show how it looks together?
Okay, of course. So, I'm going to build the embrace by inviting my partner with my left hand, right here, and my right is going to close the embrace around in this way. Note that I'm not going too high or too low, just middle back here, and I make sure that my full hand and my full arm are connected with her. As such, I'm not here, I'm really around here. Good. Let's have a bit of music.
Okay, so just before we start, just if you don't mind me, to say just one or two tips. Remember to have a little bit of intention, can be more or less body weight, depending on how much the leader suggests. But let's try to have a little bit of resistance towards each other, so that the communication of the shift of the weight can then be clearly communicated. See you soon.
And then I would actually start pushing with the back leg, she starts projecting, and we carry on together. So let's have a look at how we do it with music. I'm going to start putting my weight on the right leg, for example, indicating I want her on the left leg, and I start pushing, which is the translation, the projection, and the finger. One thing I would like to mention for leaders, as you could see, we really take our time. There is strength and grounding in the tango, but it's not quick. So I'm going to project, I'm going to push, and the timing, the beats, is going to coincide with my heel touching the floor, but not more than this, yeah? So it's, with the beats, I mean this position here, and then I roll the foot after the beat. And same for followers, they are going to roll the foot after the beat, so they receive the weight on the toes, and after that they roll the foot.
So you really pay attention to this moment, that as I was saying before, the heel stays off the floor, and the heel is going to go down as my center collects, okay?
So, I'd like to move on to our the next part of the class, which is basically the Americana. So, Americana is the step that we are going to teach today with a few variations, but I would like to first mention that after all, or before all, Americana is an embrace. Yeah, so you're most of the time facing your partner when you dance tango, but there's one embrace which is a bit special in tango, is where we have our hips facing the same way. Yes, of course our hands are still connected here, but we are facing the same way. This is what we call the Americana, and this is something that we'll have a look at today in terms of how to get into it and what to do with it. Yeah, so it's very kind of interesting as an embrace, because it opens possibilities in terms of what we can do, because suddenly we have a lot of space in front of us, and we're going to have a look at a few variations. So, first, entry into the Americana, how is the easiest way or fastest way, I should say, to enter into Americana? And I call it Americana in one step. It can't be faster than this, and I'll show you how it is. So, you're going to, maybe a little bit further back, that's it. You're going to be on your right leg, ladies are going to be on your left, and the leader is going to go forward, and his step is going to be a little bit longer, because he wants to almost overtake his partner, and he's going to go slightly to the left hand side, and immediately have his partner in this way. So you see that it's one step only to the Americana. You can't basically do it faster than this. This is really the fastest way. So let's show it a few times. I'm going to come here, I'm going to push, I'm going to scoop through the floor, push with the back leg, and I'm going to do a bigger step, and here I'm going to indicate to my partner I want her to pivot, and how we are in Americana.
Would you mind to change it to show
Yes.
it? Yeah.
It's here, and it's going to be 1, 2, and here we are.
Did you see the change of the embrace? So we adjusted, in order to close the space, we slided the two sides of the embrace.
Let's have a look. Here, the hand is maybe on my right hand side. As I go forward and I pivot her, the hand is starting to turn me. So how do I indicate to my partner that after the step, I want her to pivot? This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go forward. I'm going to lead back the camera in a second, but before I'm going to show you here. I'm going to go forward. My step is slightly, very slightly to the left, and I repeat slightly. It's not a diagonal step, it's way too much. What you need to actually displace your foot by is roughly half a foot, so maybe that much. Yes, not much at all. So you're here, and you're going to push to the floor. As you're going to arrive on this leg here, you're going to have a sharp dissociation. You don't wait for the lady to completely transfer the weight. You're going to have a sharp dissociation this way, to indicate you want her to pivot inside the embrace before you bring your foot here. Yes, so it's 1 and 2, as simple as that. So you're using your full dissociation, which is your torso turning to your right. So let me show you back to the camera. Here, I push through the floor, and as I go into my left leg, I'm going to strongly dissociate towards my partner, towards the right, where she is. And the fact that I do a slightly bigger step means that I'm going to push a little bit more, whilst I don't indicate this with my chest. So the chest is doing whatever it does, so just like going forward, not anything special, but my foot is going to try to overtake her a little bit so that I end up next to her. Let's have a look. So I'm going to little bit bigger step. I wait for her to be finished with her pivot, and at this stage I'm on the left and she's on the right, therefore we are basically on the leg outside the embrace. I'm here and she's here. That means that the next available leg is going to be the internal leg here. Good. So one last little thing for leaders, and maybe you can explain how it works for the follower.
Yes, and also, very sorry. So guys, if you have any questions, we'll try our best to respond to them. So it's easier for us if you drop your questions earlier on the comment section below, okay?
If you're on a mobile, it's possible that you do not have the possibility to leave comments. It's only if you're on your computer that you can, or your tablet. So, one last thing. I'm going to, the timing of dissociation is very important here. I'm not going to go forward and then worry about my dissociation now. Basically, my dissociation is as I'm going forward, is as I'm going forward here. Can you see? Is as I'm going forward here, and as I bring my foot together, I'm already fully dissociated. This is, of course, the way to indicate to my partner, I want her to pivot and it's not too late.
And one tip for the followers would be to keep the upper body with your partner, even though you're going to feel tempted to turn your upper body away, because in the Americana situation, you're going to be sideways. We still try to have the upper body rotated to the leader. So let me show you what I mean by that. So we try to avoid situations like that.
Like this.
But
this is not very tango, Argentine tango. Here is not at all tango actually. Here is tango, where we have our hips facing there. But
we keep the intention towards each other, even though the hips are side to side. We then disassociate from the upper body, from the hips, above the hips, towards each other. So we keep that connection inside the space.
It is, yeah. One last time and then we carry on?
Sure.
Okay, let's do it in this angle. 1, 2, and see that our hips are roughly at the same level, and we're here. And then of course, the rest. I don't think we need any other side, do we?
Should we do this one and give them some time to try it out?
Okay, so let's finish the Americana.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we can actually, give them some time. So,
Okay.
look what happens. I'm coming here, I'm going to pivot my partner. I take my time, I'm on the left leg here. Now, to finish or to exit the Americana, I'm going to ask her to go forward. I'm going to have a slight dissociation to the left, and I'm going to do a very small step. I repeat, very small, because I want her to pivot in front of me. I'm going to pivot a little bit more until she's facing me, and off we are, as we were and when we started.
There was one question popping through.
Yes.
And I think I saw it the screen. It was asked this question: how does the leader indicate the pivot of the follower?
So, good question. It's when you go forward with your left leg here, you are going to start activating the left part of the embrace and doing this kind of thing here. Because the follower has a firm embrace with her hand extended, the right arm, she's going to feel, if I do it very slowly, that there is a pivot here. Can you see what's happening here? I'm going to use the left part of the embrace to ask her to pivot in my arms.
So there's a little bit of a push, and it makes me want to resist. So if the leader pushes, follower pushes against. If he pulls, we pull away also. So that means we're constantly mirroring, and the effect that is created is because he's pushing and I push, and there is rotation on this side, then we create pivot.
So one thing I'd like to mention for leaders, which is important here, is that when we say we push with the arm or the hand, it's not that suddenly we go, no, it's the entire body going to rotate towards our partner. Yes, look at this. Here I rotate, there. Can you see? It's almost like my shoulder going forwards and indicating to my partner I want her to rotate in the embrace here. Cool. Now, let's finish this. We are going to indicate to our partner we want her forward towards our left. Here, let me 1 second with this arm. Sure. I'm going to do this here. I'm going to invite her forward, and because she has a connection with mine here, she's going to feel she needs to respond by stepping with her free leg, which is her left leg. 1, and I need to have a little bit pivot, a little bit extra, until she's facing me. I'm on my right at this stage, and I'm going to go left forwards to exit. Okay, let's do it a couple of times, and then we carry on. So, music. That was very short.
It was very short.
Okay, I think you understand the idea. Now something I would like to mention related to the exit is to make sure that you give enough time, leaders, for the follower to complete our pivot. What does it mean? It means I'm going to have a very, very small step with my right, very small, here. So maybe it's half a foot, whilst my embrace, my torso, is indicating to my partner. I want her here, facing me. Yes? So her step is big enough for her left leg to catch up with my right foot, so that as she puts her foot on the floor, her left foot is roughly facing my right foot. Now, I need to pivot a bit more, and then I need to actually give plenty of time for this pivot to be completed, and I'm going to go simply forward with it. Good? Yeah?
Yeah.
That makes sense? So, let's do maybe just a couple more, so that everyone can practice. If you are a solo dancer, what I would suggest you do, solo dancers, if you are a leader, is to try to practice scooping through the floor, so that you are going a bit like a further.
Can I give one tip for the follower?
Yes.
That I forgot.
Of course.
So when you have the exit of the Americana, try to exit with that step forward with a lot of rotation. Okay, are we ready? The intention is to come back to a neutral position of facing your partner, right? So when you have, let's go through Americana, and then you have that situation here, I need to try and circle around with my upper body to be able to return completely. Okay?
Okay, a few notes. So, leaders practice your dissociation as you go forward, and you come back, dissociation as you go forward. And for followers, I would say maybe practice the fact that you have to pivot on one leg 180 degrees before you go forward, and you have to pivot again 180 degrees. Okay, right. Maybe we leave the music for a few seconds while we have a bit of water.
Sagrada y sencilla como una oración, en un bárbaro olor problema que a toda mi pena siento mi avión.
Okay, here we go. So, I think we have time for one question for now.
And
The
also, we have lots of people from Italy in the house.
Oh, hello.
Ciao Italia!
Ciao Italia, forza Italia. So the question we had in the chat was basically how do we make sure that the leader is going to do a bigger step than the follower? So it's actually a good question. What I'm going to do is I'm going to scoop into the floor. What does it mean? It means if I go above, if my intention is here, my partner's step is probably going to be the same as me. If I want to overtake her, I need to restrict a little bit her projection by not going to project myself too much. As she's going to step, I'm going to now use the opportunity to go a little bit bigger. Yeah, so it's going to be a little bit here, and then it's like I catch her by surprise by having this little extra at the end, which might be half a foot. Yeah?
Yeah.
Alright, so let's move on to what is also called the Americana. So remember, the Americana is an embrace. We showed you in one step how to reach it. This is very quick, but it's normally used as a step as well. It's actually a little combination of steps which leads into the Americana embrace, and we're going to show you how it works. It's actually involving a few steps before, which are an ocho and a displacement. So let's have a look how it works. So I'm going to show you in this angle first. I'm going to go forward, and I'm going to do what we call forward ocho, which is a little pivot of my partner, and I'm going to do a side step after a channel weight. So this is pretty much what a forward ocho should be like, or are like. And then I'm going to bring my partner to rotate here, but I'm going to make sure that she doesn't feel that it's a full rotation, as in a full ocho forward, because I'm going to take her forward as I'm going back here. Now here, as I'm going backwards, my step is a little bit smaller this time, whilst her step is normal size. And as I'm going to bring my feet together, I'm going to rotate her completely, and this is the Americana position here, before we can finish maybe the same with a small step forward for leaders with the right leg, and up we are with the left hand. So of course it creates a little sequence which is called Americana, and we're going to show you a couple of times. I'm going to show you maybe step by step how it works. Back to the camera. So leaders, you're going to go and make sure that you stop onto your left leg. Of course, at this stage your partner is onto her right leg. You are going to indicate the forward ocho by having dissociation to the right hand side. I'm not going to spend too much time on ochos because this is what we did last week on Wednesday and on Sunday as well. I'm going to be in this position here. I'm going to change my weight to the right leg here, and I'm going to do a step sideways. Now, the difference with the forward ocho is this time leaders are going to step a little bit larger than in normal ocho. Here I'm going to, can you see, my step is a little bit bigger than hers. So as she's coming here, she's ever so slightly onto my right hand side. In other words, I'm using the inner lane of Tango. I'm preparing the fact that she's on my side here. And I'm going to go back. Now, going back, I have the choice between going back to the right or the left leg. It doesn't make a big difference. What actually is a little bit nicer, the left, but the right actually creates a bit more space. So it's actually up to you to know, depending on what you feel most comfortable with. So I'm going to go back, and she's going to step bigger because I'm going to indicate to her, please come, and I'm going to shorten my step. So roughly, her step and mine are going to be approximately at the same level here. And this is where I need to be quite grounded with my left. I'm going to pivot her in the embrace here until she's in this position here. And I'm going to invite her forward here and finish here before we go back. So of course it's a little bit delicate to do it so slowly. We're going to do it a few times in full speed because that actually makes a bit more sense. 1, 2, 3, Americana, and we exit Americana before we go around to the left leg. One more time. Here. Ocho forward, side step, back step, and we exit Americana here, we go. Let's see how it looks if I'm going with the other leg, which is the right leg. As I said, it's up to you. There's not a big difference for leaders. It's the same result for the followers, just in terms of styling, whichever you prefer. Let's have a look. 1, 2, 3, and this I will have to change my weight. If I do that, I go with the right, I change my weight to the left leg, because I want to go a little step forward with the right, and off I go. So I suggest that we are doing this independently, so that everyone can practice, solo dancers. I'm going to do the leader, and Mario is going
Let's
to
do
do
it
the...
this way. So,
Yeah, okay.
Don't worry, we're going to change the fronts as we go.
Okay.
As we go along.
So I'm going to go forward, she's going backwards, yes. I'm going to end up into little ocho.
So I pivot on my right, I ride on the right, and I pivot on the right.
I change my weight to the right leg here. I go sideways, gently,
So we have
bigger.
forward step with
And
a
then-
pivot.
And then here I go back to neutral, so that she's now facing me, but because she has a bit of space on my right, she's ending up a bit on my right hand side. I'm going to invite her to step forward, and here is the big pivot where she's going to do 180 degrees. I'm going to go forward with the right, small for her,
So we
big for
have
me,
forward ocho here,
and we finish
returning.
there. Okay, should we do it without stopping?
Sure.
Yeah, a few times?
Yeah.
So, 1, 2, 3. You with me? Good. Alright. 1. Pivot to the right. Step to the left. Pivot to neutral position. I go the right leg. I send her to do big pivot. Small step. And I finish with my axis straight and in neutral position with my chest. So I have no more discussion at the end. And I'm going to lead with the left. Let's see.
Do we change another
Yes.
to another front?
Okay, let's try this way a few times.
This one?
Yes.
Okay.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Channel 4 for leaders. 8, and then we finish here.
Okay. Let's show you the other front.
Yes, we can.
This one. Okay.
So, leaders, this is where you have your time, maybe, the nice
Window, very
style.
small window of time.
Okay, so I'm going to go forwards. I rotate my partner into ocho adelante, ocho forward. I change my weight. Side step, back to neutral, back, big pivot for the lady, and then we invite her around. She's going to face us, and that's what it is. We lead with the left. 3 more times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2 more times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and we go to the left. Last time. Oh, sorry. Forward. Forward. Sideways, neutral, back, big association, and we finish here. And exactly here. So we'll show you a few times in embrace. Our recommendation for solo dancers is to continue practicing. It's a very good exercise, especially for followers who are by themselves, because you are basically rotating on one leg here without the luxury of counting on someone for balance. So this is a very, very good exercise. As you know, in Tango, both leaders and followers are, I would say, interdependent. It means we are depending on each other in terms of lead and response, but we are independent when it comes to the axis and balance. So
Unless,
very
of
important,
course, in a situation of vocado or colgado, which
unless,
is a
unless
different
the
arrangement.
leader puts you at this angle, in which case, yes, you might depend on him a little bit, on her, if it's a female leader. But yes, it's very, very important to understand this notion of interdependence, but not independence. Yeah? Shall we try a few steps?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
castigo de Dios. Ven a romper el capo en su furia una vez, de ternura, viola y de fe. Por vos sea cambiado mi vida, sagrada y sencilla como una oración, en un bárbaro problema que ahora mi pena siento mi amor.
Okay, so this is the Americana. We've shown you two versions so far, which is the Americana in one step, and this is the full sequence of the Americana. If it's your very first time to actually have a look at the Americana, what we recommend do is practicing the little sequence. It's not very, very complex. But the important thing, of course, is to make sure that you are staying close to your partner, you don't open too much. There might be a bit of opening sometimes. It's up to you. We show you how it looks if it's in close embrace without opening at all. It's the same. But I'm going to maybe have smaller step. And off we go. So it actually looks a little bit different in close embrace, because basically the lady is not going necessarily to do 90-degree turns. She's going to do a little bit less because she stays close to you. Let's have a look. One more time. 1 and 2, 3. And then here you wait for her. Note that my step forward is very, very tiny, if almost non-existent here, because I wait for her to the corridor, the return from the Americana. There's something that I would like to add as a little bonus, if you like, to play with the Americana, is the side ocho. So if you've done the side ocho with us last week, you'll know that basically the ocho is, especially the ocho forward, is a sequence where I'm going to go left and right, this way, and she's doing an 8 facing me or in front of me as I'm leading it. Now what's interesting in the Americana is we're going to explore something a bit different, which is a side ocho, which is like an ocho forward, except she's on my side as opposed to being facing me. So let's have a look at how it works. I'm going to enter into my Americana here, and I'm going to invite her forward. Now, if I wanted to close the Americana, I could, but this time I'm going to pivot her, and I'm going to go forward with her, and I'm going to pivot her again, I'm going to go back. So basically I'm alternating forward and back. You can go forward with the right or with the left, again it's up to you. There's not much difference. See here I'm going to the left, or here with the right. It doesn't affect much what my partner is doing.
If you try this, just remember to keep always the intention towards each other, yeah?
Or to the camera.
You probably might have to look to the camera a few times, but when you try the exercise, because what happens is otherwise we will disconnect from each other, yeah? So always keep that intention.
So look at this. Here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then maybe here I finish with again a slightly smaller step, and I invite her forward to be facing me. At the end I'm having a little bit of extra dissociation to the left so that she finishes pivot. So should we
Yeah, I think we're gonna demonstrate for you what we did, but before we do it,
Is the time already?
yes, it's bedtime
Oh, wow.
already. I
Okay.
know, it's gone very quickly. So guys, we are going to demonstrate. Before that, we just need to have a quick chat. If you have not bought a ticket yet for this class, we would really appreciate, since this is our only source of income right now. And the link where you can go and buy your ticket
Okay.
is,
I can send it to you.
if you're not familiar yet.
So this is using the good traditional method of having a piece of paper. So the first one is the donate link. You have different forms, different ways of payments, from PayPal to other things. If you cannot because of the situation with Corona, then what we suggest you do is you leave a review to help us at tango.co.uk/review.
Okay, and if you have missed any classes, you can catch up by visiting this link. So we have about 15 classes available for purchase. So that's another way you can support us. And also, of course, if you're Instagram fans, this is our accounts. We post videos daily and it's a lot of fun. So if you could join us, follow us and support us, we would really appreciate that.
Okay, so let's have a little dance to finish the class. We hope that you enjoyed your Americana. Here we go. Secreto.
Pienso que no puedo salvarme, muñeca maldita, castigo de Dios. Ven, parrón que desgaja en su furia una vez de ternura violar y de fe. Como sea tranquila mi vida, sagrada y sencilla como una oración, en un bárbaro horror de problemas que ahora mi pena y enturbia mi amor.
Thank you so much, guys. We'll be back in 10 minutes. Don't go anywhere.
Here we go.
And hello again, we are back. I hope you had a great break.
Hello again, so this is your intermediate class. Today we are focusing especially on the Americana, trying to make it tight, but also trying to have a look at different variations around the Americana. So if you just joined us, welcome. Maybe our question to you is, where are you watching this from? What country, what city? It's always very interesting to hear. Don't hesitate to ask any question. We might not be able to answer to all the questions, but we pick one or two in the random class. It's very, very interesting for us to know what kind of questions you have, with the concept that we are teaching.
We do our best with the time that we've got.
Exactly. So Americana has a little introduction. As you mentioned just about half an hour ago, it's a little bit more than just a step. It's also an embrace. It's the fact that basically, rather than being forwards or facing each other, we are facing this way here. It opens a lot of possibilities. As we'll see, we are just going to see a few variations, but there are many more. And in terms of what we can do with it. So one thing I'd like to start with in terms of technique for the Americana, make sure that when you do the Americana, your hands and your arm are sliding, maybe this way, maybe better, is sliding as you enter into Americana, so you're starting to be in this position here. Yes? Make sure that you don't end up with your hand here, because it will actually,
Or here?
or here, it will impact the connection, and with your hand you're going to push your partner away. So go around the waist and come here.
Do you see that the alignment of the shoulders is kept parallel with the floor? So we can only achieve that if we keep the alignment equal as before, so we slide in breath here.
And this is the Americana position. Okay, so we'll start with a little something which I find a little bit amusing. I think we all agree, or most of us will agree, that in our situation we like two things. We like hugs and kisses. I don't know about you, but it's very likely that many people will say yes, me as well. As a matter of fact, one of my students just called me before the class and said, "Oh, we miss all the tango hugs so much. It's going to be crazy when we finally go back to normal." And she said, maybe for 1 hour we just do hugs, and that's all we do. And maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen.
That's what probably
They're going to have like a full hour, before the actual milonga starts, so people can catch up.
Exactly.
And just come back to a normal state of being before they even think about dancing.
Exactly. So just first we hug. So here we're going to focus on kisses, but with the foot. It's a foot kiss. This is how I call it. I like to call it this way. And we're going to show you how it's done. So I'm going to be in Americana position here. And normally what happens in Americana is I'm going to be on the left leg. So I'm going to go forwards here, and this is, I'm going to be on the right, and my partner is going to be on the left leg here. As I reach this position here, I'm going to go back to this position here. So now we are still on the right and she's still on the left, but we are going back. And this creates an opportunity to lead our partner to bring her foot a little bit inside. And I'm going to do the same to establish foot contact, or foot kiss if you like to call it this way. So it's going to be 1 and 2, pam, here, pam, pam, pam.
Be gentle with going towards each other with that free foot, okay?
Exactly. As I mentioned, we call it foot kiss, we don't call it foot kick, yeah? It's almost the same, sounding the same, but not exactly the same in terms of how it looks. So I'm going to go back and forth, and here I'm going to bring my foot towards hers. Now, the way to lead it is going to be a tiny bit of compression in the embrace and a tiny bit of dissociation to the left, because she will feel that she has not enough energy to pivot. It's just a leg that's going to go a little bit to this way. Can you see? I'm kind of pulling her a little bit, tiny bit here. At the same time, I'm not pulling her so much that she wants to step and start pivoting in the embrace. It's a little pull here, and it's a little compression with this part as well. So it's more this here. So as I go back with a little foot kiss here, I'm going to go and compress my core this way. So let's do it maybe if you're on my side. Let's do it, well, maybe back to the camera, I think it's better. And you're just going to do this. It's very, very simple exercise, but just to practice a little bit, you're going to go forward with the right leg here, forwards with the left. You're going to go back, and as you go back, there's a compression, and you bring your foot slightly inwards, left for leaders, right for followers. And you're going to step on this leg, and you go another rebound, and go, bam. I'm exaggerating a little bit to show you here. The right for followers and the left for leaders going inwards. And here I compress. Make sure I don't go down, I just compress in the embrace here. 1 and 2, tack. So the timing is ram, tam, pam, ta ta tam, pam, pam, ta pa pam, pam. So this is quick, 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 tam, pam. Yeah, there's no stop because we are playing with the music in this way.
Okay, so how we indicate the transferring of the weight from the forward step to that back step? Two things, of course, the embrace is there, okay, and it's going to move as a unit, but I'm also having contact with the side of my hip, with my hip's partner, my partner's hip. Yes, that's it. So I can really feel that transfer of the weight because I have one point of contact in the hip and in the embrace. Okay?
Ladies, remember, it's very, very slight. The contact here is not a heavy contact. Don't start pushing sideways. It's just a slight contact here.
It should happen naturally and not forced.
Okay, let's have a look with the music. Maybe the same as before. Okay. So, ideally, of course, this thing of foot displacement, or foot kiss if you want to call it this way, is matching the music, when the music is rhythmical, when there's a bit of an acceleration, when the music is a bit more sustained, because basically the musicality or the speed is, as I said, quick, 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 bam, bam. Yes, so it's quite small. It's not very quick, but we actually don't have any stop, such as 1, 2, 3 stop, and then a little displacement. It's up to you, of course. You might want to play a bit. If the music suddenly stops, boom, and then stop here. In this case, you have to ground your partner before you resume. Why not? Tack, and then you go. Boom. And so on and so forth. Every possibility, of course, is up to you to explore and up to the music as well. Should we do one more little piece of music? Yeah?
Yeah, sure.
En un bárbaro problema que a toda mi pena siento mi amor.
this is an example of what you could do. One thing that I wanted to show you earlier in this little dance is the fact that we did actually use this sudden stop before we resume. Pom, down, down, pom. One thing for followers, make sure that your embrace is quite firm, because of course what you want to do is make sure that you feel all the signals from your leader. As soon as you're going to relax too much here, you're going to miss the signals. Yeah? It's good?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to play the song for a few seconds, a bit of water, and we're going to move on to the next bit.
Pienso que no puedo salvarme, muñeca maldita, casi.
Okay guys, we're just gonna reply to a few questions. We have a limited time, but so ask this question. Do you actually touch the whole foot, the heel or the toes? I think the three options can be possible.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's maybe safer to touch on the heel because the heel is a bit stronger, but make sure, leaders, when you do that, you really have a soft kind of displacement. Do not be a bit too excited about it and start kicking your partner because it might not be very, very pleasant.
You kind of have to indicate to the follower what's about to happen. Yeah, so when she mirrors, she doesn't have too much energy colliding with your feet.
And of course, this is a very good step when you have very, very tight and limited space, because it basically only takes about, let's say, what is it? Maybe one step across. So it's very, very kind of, can be very tiny, in this way. Yeah, so make sure that you really kind of adapt the step to the size of the space that you have around you.
Okay, I think we should move on, no?
Yes, I think there was one question though that
Okay.
someone asked is like, it looks like my hand is going down a bit. You might be right. Why? If I'm here, I can still lead my partner to go a little bit towards me, but if I go a little bit more down, and I say a little bit, obviously not too much, then I have more access to the hips. So basically, if I'm going forward and back here, this little, it's not a pressure, it's just an invitation to send the leg inwards, is going to have more effect than if my hand, for example, is here. Here, she might not feel it as much. Here, I'm closer to the hip, therefore, can you see? There's a bit of movement here, and she feels the lead a bit more. Yeah, so good question, well spotted. Yes, it's possible that sometimes you might move a little bit the hands so to have a clearer lead. Good. So we're going to have a look at one more thing, which is something which is quite rhythmical. It might take a little bit more space, but again you can adapt this to the size you have around you in the room. And we're going to show you the structure. So I'm going to go forward to the right, and I'm going to scoop under. That means I'm going to push a little bit more with the back leg. I'm going a bit down so that I can go up, and then I'm going to go 1, 2, and a small step with the left. And I repeat, 1, 2, 1, 1, yum, pom, 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 yum, pom, 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 yum, pom, pom. Okay. Note that every time I'm going to do this in a way that I stay around the same point. The point is not to travel. Of course I could simply go 1, 2, 3, 4 and then here and continue traveling. In this case I always have a little bit of rotation so that I always come back to the same point, because again we don't have much space in this imaginary milonga. So how does it work for the leader? I'm going to do this little sequence and we're going to repeat together. I'm going to show you facing the camera first. I'm going to go a little bit down, I go up, I do 1 change of weight, 2 change of weight, and then 3 a little step forward. And then I repeat. So the first one is bigger. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And every time I'm going to pivot a little bit towards my right so that I go around the same spot. Yep, pam, pam, yep, pam, pam. So let's do it together. And of course, we're going to have a look at the followers in a second. So leaders, on your right leg, maybe I play the song. So, I'm going to go with the right forward, waiting for the music, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and 1. Again, pam, 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 yum, pam, pam, yum. Okay, so let's have a look at what the follower is going to do.
So I'm going to have a big back step with my left. That's going to be the biggest step. And then I'm going to shift the weight onto the right and shift the weight onto the left. Now how much I rotate depends on how much rotation of the step the leader is providing. Okay, so I was on the right and then on the left, and a small step with the right back, and we repeat the sequence. Big, transfer, transfer, small step. Big, transfer, transfer, small, and always remember to keep facing the leader. So if my upper body is constantly changing the intention. So big, transfer, transfer, small. Big, transfer, transfer, small. Big, transfer, transfer, small, and so on, so on. So let's have a look to see how it looks with the leader.
Okay, so one question, which was a good question, is you go up and down. Yes, you do. You tend to go a little bit down on your forcep, which is a bit bigger, and the rest is a bit up. So the first one is a bit down. You go up, up, and then you relax a little bit here. So the energy is more like strong, and then a bit relaxed here. So the fourth step is actually something along the lines of you go and you just relax on the step here. It's not 1 and then 2 again. It's only 1 step forward with a bit more energy.
Yeah? Okay.
So I'm going to go and attack with my right around her, right here, and I'm going to kind of scoop under. 1. I lift her and I relax forward. 1. I lift her and I relax forward. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and so on and so on. Have you used music? Is that
Yeah,
done?
let's try with
All right,
music.
let's try. Yes,
Like
on a typical Victor, this is a very, very nice cadena, sometimes called cadena because we chain it. You know, it's kind of something that is repeated as much as you like. What we tend to do with this, of course, is to mix it with back and forth, but again, it depends on how much space you have. If you have a limited space, such as here, of course, it's a good step, but you always have to rotate. So, a little something that I want to have a bit of a precision about is when to step. Basically, when you go, you're going to have a little bit of pivot as you go up, and then it's around your partner. So, the pivot is as you go up, here, and then you go one, boom, 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 boom. One thing that I'm feeling in the lead for my partner is I'm aiming not really forwards. In fact, I'm aiming behind her. I'm aiming here and not so much here. Yes? So the intention, of course, is at all times to have a rotation around our partner. So this is why if we open the embrace, the leg is going to establish contact with hers, because I come here, see there's a contact right here, and I'm not trying to do this here, which will be away.
it's way too far.
Way too far. Yes, always aim back, to her back if you like, and to her back.
So what happens is Bruno keeps me on his right side all the time. You see? So I'm always on this side of the embrace.
Yeah.
And that's really helpful for the leaders, because I'm not really in front of him, but slightly on the outer leg.
Of course, we can keep it with embrace, but she's still on my right hand side. And so on. So, this is sometimes referred as a va-et-vient or back and forth if you like. And va-et-vient is something that is really, really common in tango. All these cadenas, it's not the only one. There's one that is including a little shot of weight. We're not going to show you because it might be a bit confusing with this one, but a lot of these cadenas are very, very popular, especially on the rhythmical tangos such as Orchestra Tipica.
Let's give them some time.
Yes.
Maybe just have tango.
Okay, let's do it. Okay, alright. So, we are going to show you one other variation. So, of course, Americana, you probably use it already. I'm sure that you use this one here, which is quite common, which is the rap, or whatever you call it, cancho, fon. I prefer to call it rap. But this one I'm going to show you, because it's something that you might have done already. We are going to show you something which is a little bit more original. Most of the time in Americana, you're going to be on the outside leg of the embrace, lead on the left, follow on the right, and we are going to go forward with the internal leg, which is right for leaders and left for followers. Now, what's interesting here is a leader, of course, is able to change his weights, and we are going to go on the same leg. What does it mean? It means that as we are in Americana, the lady is into her outside leg here, and I can put my weight not on the outside leg but on the inside leg. That means we are now able to have this position here. So a little word of caution, I sometimes call it skating, but it does look like skating. It can look very, very bad if you overdo it, so please, very, very small doses. If you do the skating, just no more than 2, okay? We are going to show you something a bit more interesting, but let's have a quick look at the skating. The idea when you're doing this kind of Americana position is you are going to invite your partner to step here. Note that she's going to step as a zigzag at 45-degree angles. You are inviting her here, so the left is going over your right, and you're going to collect, and you're going to overtake her with the right leg this way, here, and this way, and this way.
So notice that there is the arriving position. It's very clear, so we are not stopping in the middle, we just stopped in the middle to show you. But it would go from one axis to the next one. Yeah?
And so on. Okay, so this is something that's relatively easy. Now what's interesting here, we're going to use that for crosses, and it's interesting also because it doesn't take much space, because you can always come back in a few steps. So
let's show us with the back.
Yes. Oh, this one you mean?
Yes.
Oh yeah, sure. Okay, let's have a look at the skating. Back to the camera. I think it's a good point. It's easier for you to understand what's happening. So I'm going to go leftwards, 45 degrees angle here, and she's bringing her leg in this way. So her right is in front of mine. I'm going to collect, and I'm going to go around her foot, and I'm going to go 45 degrees, step here, and I repeat there, and there, and so on. So this should not be too much of a problem for most of you. We are going to have a look at how it looks when I add crosses, which is something very interesting here in terms of dynamics. Let's have a look. So the setup, or how to enter into my crosses, is going to necessitate something a little bit different. I'm going to start with my little skating here, and as I'm onto my right leg here, something unusual needs to happen. I need to go diagonally to my right a second time with my left as well. So my left is not going to go to the left, but to the right, so that I end up in this position. Now this position is interesting here. It's something that is a bit more unusual in tango, because I'm going to be able to suddenly take my partner back and ask her to cross in this way, where her, which one is it? Your left or the right? Yes. Okay. So I'll show you one more time. Can we do it from the top here? So I'm going to go. Yes. 1, 2, 3, and cross. I'm going to uncross, and she's going to uncross as well. And we're going to go now right, and for me and for her. A little bit more further from the camera. 1, 2, 3, and cross. I uncross myself, and I can maybe finish this way here. So this is our single cross. Of course, our point is to repeat the cross on different side. But I'm going to show you back the camera. So let's have a look. 1, 2, 3, and cross. And I'm going to uncross, and I'm going to finish this way. So let's have a very quick exercise, if you like, where I'm going to cross on both sides.
Sure.
So leaders, this is what I'm going to do, and of course followers.
We can both do the same, leaders and followers.
Absolutely, because we're mirroring each other, yes?
Exactly.
So 1, 2, 3, and cross. I'm going to uncross, and I'm going to go on the other side, up, to cross one more time here. And in, here, yes, and out, here.
So there's a little bit of pivot each time, so we change direction.
And out. So this is how I'm going to indicate the cross to my partner. Pam, 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 pam. Now, I'd like to indicate or to explain something in terms of the lead. I'm going to use what we call association. So that means that basically I'm going forward with the left, and my left part of the armrest is going to go forward as well. So I'm going to link my hip and my shoulder. I'm associating, not dissociating here. Yeah? So it's very important to understand this. If you're dissociating, the lady will be very confused. So I'm going to associate here to bring her there, and then I'm going to associate on the other side here, and I'm associating on this side and on the other side here. So it's very, very interesting because basically it's what you're used to, which is maybe this configuration here, which is this one here. But see here, we are dissociating. But because the embrace is different, we are facing the same direction, we need to associate for our Americana crosses. One, yep, bum, ta tam, bum, 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 yep, bum, ta tam, 1 and 2. So let's do a few times. Back to the camera with music.
Sure.
Solo dancers, perfect occasion to practice your front crosses. One thing I would like to mention for you to, in terms of your front crosses, make sure that the foot is coming here. It's not a neutral. Your hips are staying where they are, this way and this way. So it's the foot traveling. I don't try to start pivoting too much. It's not going to work. Good. So, first of all, how do we exit from this? Maybe we cannot. Maybe we are stuck. That's possible to be stuck there. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get into a cross this way, here, and then I can, or in this position, so when I'm crossing with my left over my right, have a sharp dissociation. And I finish with maybe this little configuration. So there's a little ocho, maybe that is working well on the exit here. If you are in that configuration, left over right, strong dissociation, bring your right backwards, and this is how we exit. So let's have a look. Here I go. Yam, bam, I'm here. And here I'm going to go down a bit, she's going to rotate, I push the floor, and I finish this way. Let's do a few times. Here, 1, yet, and here, I rotate here again, 1 and 2, and I rotate here. Note that the follower is responsible to in terms of the embrace, responsible for understanding the intention of the leader. So if you're too tight, you need to relax so that you have space for yourself to pivot when he's giving you the lead for the rotation.
And of course, leaders always anticipate that rotation, okay? Because it's a lot of pivot for us to get out in that situation.
Last time. Here, yam, yet, that down, and here I'm going to give plenty of time. And I finish this way here. Good. So this is how we exit, but something I would like to add to this little front cross, let's call it Americana cross, is the fact that you can repeat it very, very easily. So how does it work? If you're in this configuration here, for example, where the right is above the left, you're going to have to lift your back foot and repeat a few times. Now, what will help is if there's a nice connection with the hip between leaders and followers. Let's have a look. 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 4 and 4. See here, there's a nice connection at the hip level here. And again, my hand is making sure that she's not going too far. So it's tense, it's firm but not tense, basically. And of course, the same as before, if you want to finish here, you need to make sure that she has enough space. Maybe finishing here, there. Good. So let's have a look, let's have a little demonstration with that.
Yeah,
so if you want to practice your front crosses, leaders and followers, otherwise couples, you can practice together. Let's do it.
no quiero más orgías, no quiero más los días de un tiempo que se fue. Hoy solo me ilusionan los ritmos, las caricias y las tiernas delicias del nido que formé.
Okay, good. So this is our little cross. We like it. We find it's a little bit original, it's a bit new, it's a bit fresh, it's cute. And I'm going to play the song for a few seconds so that we have a look at the questions. Okay, here we go. Right. I'm going to have one more variation about the Americana. I hope it's not too much. Of course, the beauty is you can see this video a few times if you need to. But this is what we are going to do now. This is a little bit challenging for the embrace. We will have to open the embrace in this one, because we need a lot of space. This is how it's going to work. So it's still Tango Salon, don't worry, but it's requiring a little bit more space. So I'm going to go in Americana, and I'm going to go forward with my right, whilst she's going forward to the left. This is the normal way to enter into Americana. And I'm going to go forward, side, and side. And here I'm going to rotate her, and know that I'm actually now facing the other direction, and I'm going to go forward there. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
So a word about the embrace. There is quite a lot of adjustment in order for us to rotate inside the embrace.
Here we are obviously very deep in the embrace. My hand is with this part of her body, and hers is here. But as I'm going to, maybe it's facing the camera, as I'm going to do my second and third step, I'm going to start pivoting, and here I need to actually relax this arm. Now, leaders, it's very important for us as well. If you have your arm a little bit tense, if you push her, she's not going to be able to rotate. So you need to really kind of relax this, maybe go a little bit higher if that helps. But this hand is going to go all the way to the other side here, and now we are facing the other side. Of course, it's like, let's call it the contra Americana, which is a little bit more difficult, but sometimes a little bit playful too. So I'm going to go 1, 2, and we retrieve the Americana. Pam, 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 pam.
Always trying to keep that connection towards each other. And even though there's quite a lot of opening at the hip level, we really always try to keep that facing each other.
So remember the arm really soft here, because otherwise you're going to impact your partner's ability to rotate. So let's have a look. So, I'm going to... Is it? It's very good. So, we have obviously very limited time left. Well, I'm going to provide a quick summary of what we did today. We had other steps in mind, but I think it's maybe a little bit too much because it will confuse you. So let me reframe a little bit what we did with the Americana. Remember, the Americana is this beautiful embrace where we are suddenly facing the same direction. It's very nice to use. So we did this one here, where we go in Americana in one step. We have done this one here, where we enter into Americana after a neutral forward, and we're here. And once we're here, we are going to go into this little side crosses, either with the left or the right leg, depending on where you are. And I'm going to be able to repeat just this way before we finish here. We have to look at the ABEELE, which is in and then a bit up and relax, here, up and relax, here, up and relax, and then finally we have to look at this last possibility, which is going here and opening the ombres a little bit after two steps. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. Okay, so we'll wrap up now. We have a few things to say before we do. So let's remind you that on Friday we have our pyrotechnic and styling class. Leaders 7 p.m. and follows 8 p.m. And on Sunday 2 p.m. for beginners and 3 for intermediates. This is your next group lesson with Tango, both for solo dancers and couples, but Friday definitely for solo dancers mostly. And on next Tuesday we have our next
Sunday,
Tango workout. Oh,
Sunday.
yes, I did.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay, then we have
Sunday.
a workout Tuesday,
Yes.
12:30 p.m. UK time. And then we are back, of course, on Wednesday night, 7 p.m.
Good. So,
now, if you haven't bought a ticket yet, please do so. Like we said before, this is our only source of income, and the link where you can go and please do buy your tickets now if you haven't. Promises that. Okay, so here is the link. So that's the first one. It's where you go and purchase a ticket for this class. So let's just square that up a little bit. That's it.
And the second link is if you cannot, because of your situation, in this case, would be appreciated if you left a review. If you want to catch up, we have now 15 classes on our library, ranging from milonga to soft tangos to rhythmical tangos to technique about balance, pivots, adornos, a lot of things happening. So have a look at the library.
And we also have a lot of little clips and funny things and instructional videos as well on our Instagram, so feel free to follow us and you can DM us if you have any suggestions or any questions regarding these classes.
Okay, you dance?
Yes?
Okay, here we go.
maldita castigo de Dios, pensaron que desplaza en su furia una de ternura, viola y de fe. Por vos se ha cambiado mi vida, sagrada y sencilla como una oración, en un bárbaro problema, mira toda mi pena y en turbia mi amor.
Okay.
Thank you so much for watching,
Thank you for
guys.
watching us.
We'll be back on, what day is it again?
Friday.
With the coronavirus, I have no idea what time of the week is
Friday,
anymore.
Friday.
Friday, 7 p.m. and 8 p.m.
Thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful evening and see you soon. Happy Tango.